In Colorado, a 29-year-old barista and political newcomer just ousted a 15-term, deeply entrenched Democratic congresswoman. This victory belongs to a broader pattern of explicitly socialist candidates winning local primaries and pushing out establishment politicians. Mainstream Democrats are watching safe seats evaporate, while conservative commentators warn their audiences of an impending socialist takeover. This chart tracks the organization behind these upsets, the Democratic Socialists of America. Between 2016 and 2021, the DSA's dues-paying membership grew from roughly 5,000 to a peak of nearly 100,000. This level of growth has built a political machine capable of moving a specific agenda into the mainstream: the total abolition of the capitalist system. For decades, the DSA was a marginal force. Following its founding in 1982 by figures like Michael Harrington, it operated as a small advocacy group on the edge of the American left. That changed following the 2008 recession and the Occupy Wall Street movement. When Bernie Sanders ran for president in 2016 as an open Democratic Socialist, he provided a focal point for thousands of disillusioned voters, who then flooded into the DSA. This influx created a unique scenario. The American primary system now contains a massive coalition of socialists, Marxists, and communists who are successfully seizing power from within a political system they intended to replace. The DSA is governed by a national political committee and divided into ideological caucuses. Reform-minded branches like Socialist Majority and Groundwork drive the dirty break, running socialist candidates on the Democratic ballot line to bypass traditional barriers. Using this strategy in New York, the DSA moved 7 members into the state assembly. These officials then successfully pushed for the passage of the Build Public Renewables Act, mandating the state to transition to publicly owned green energy. For these organizers, the Democratic Party is a tactical vehicle. They use the ballot line to wield power without adopting the ideological goals of mainstream liberalism. But the organization's more radical factions, such as the Marxist Unity Group, do not view state-level legislation as the final objective. These members focus on a theory called dual power. The strategy is to build independent, working-class institutions that function completely outside of the existing government. This work involves building parallel structures: militant labor unions, tenant organizations to confront landlords, and mutual aid networks that operate independently of state funding. The logic of dual power is to create democratic socialist organizations that are eventually strong enough to rival and then displace the institutions of the current state. Combining these two strategies, holding office while building a parallel state, creates frequent internal conflict. When DSA-endorsed politicians like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or Jamal Bowman vote for legislative compromises, like forcing a rail strike agreement or funding the Iron Dome, the organization's radical wing often reacts with public condemnation. Radical caucuses have used these moments to demand strict elected discipline and censure, insisting their politicians maintain absolute adherence to anti-imperialist principles and Palestinian solidarity. This internal tension functions as a constant stress test, forcing the organization to choose between maintaining ideological purity and exercising mainstream influence. Since the 2024 election, the radical caucuses have gained a majority on the National Political Committee. This shift led to the adoption of a new official platform titled Workers Deserve More, which codifies a host of revolutionary objectives. The platform includes a direct demand for the total abolition of the United States Senate. The document also outlines plans to defund the Department of War and place the largest corporations under public ownership, and replace the Supreme Court with a judiciary subordinate to Congress. These objectives demonstrate that the DSA is now moving beyond the goal of incremental reform toward a codified plan for systemic revolution. The DSA operates as a highly coordinated political machine with a rigid internal government structure and tens of thousands of active members. Whether they transform the American economy or fracture over internal ideology, they have established a new model for how fringe movements use major party ballot lines to gain institutional power. By combining electoral infiltration with parallel institutions, the DSA has demonstrated a new method for pursuing systemic change from within the halls of power.